You know, you're almost done your math class. It's been a lot of work, but it's paid off. Every new unit is like a new chance. At where this unit's gonna take you, but we're gonna do it together. You put a lot of work into this, and now it's paying off.
Hi class, welcome to an explanation on slope point form. It's right here. That's what slope point form is, but we're going to go through a little bit to figure out what it actually means. Now a little bit of a review, because we've been going through equations of linear relations. We talked about the general form and the slope y-intercept form. And so general form is ax plus by plus c equals 0, and we looked at how to get our slope y-intercept form into the general form. Also, what is the slope y-intercept form? Well, that is the one that we see so often. It's y equals mx plus b. And so now we're going to talk about the slope point form. Really, it comes from what a slope really is. So a slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, if we multiplied both sides by the same thing, we're not going to change anything, but we multiply the both sides by x2 minus x1. These would cancel out, and now we're given y2 minus y1 equals m with a bracket x2 minus x1. All right, now if we erase these coefficients here, it's the same as what that is. So that's where it comes from. That's where the slope point form comes from. So here's a little investigation. We've got a graph here. It's y plus 3 equals 2x minus 1. What I want you to do is to determine the slope of the graph and then list the coordinates of point A, which is right here. And then I want you to compare, press pause now. We're back, and I hope that you were able to find that the slope is 2. That's just going up 4 and over 2. So the slope is 4 over 2, which equals 2. The coordinates of point A right here is 1, negative 3. Now, when you compare the answers of A and B with the numbers in the equation, you see that we've got a 3 right here, and we've got a negative 3 right here. We've got this 1 right here, and it's a negative 1, and we've got this 1 right here. We also know that this 2 is sitting right there. So that will help us to understand a little bit more about the slope point form. Okay, let's try this again. We've got another slope. It's a negative slope right here. I want you to determine the slope of the graph, find the coordinates of point B, compare the answers with the numbers in the equation, and then I want you to consider the graph of this, okay? And based on your observations of C and G, state the slope and write the coordinates of one point on the line. All right, press pause now. So once again, we've found the slope. We've just calculated by going down 2 and over 3 to get from one point on a line to another point on a line. So it's negative 2 over 3. The coordinates of B is negative 4, 1. And so when we compare our answers to this form, we can see that we have a y minus 1. So the y is minus that one right there. So we can see that. And then we have the slope there, which is negative 2 over 3. And then we have the x minus what is here. So this one right here, the negative 4. Therefore, it's x plus 4. And that's why we see a plus there. So when we consider this, our slope is going to be m, and our point will be the x1, y1. The next thing I want to do is talk about how we can find an equation of a line given the slope and just a point on the line. Okay, so we have a line here and it is a positive slope. The slope is actually 2 and it passes through this point A. So we're going to say, hey, let P, X, Y, some kind of point, be somewhere on the line. It could be this one here or it could be this one here. It doesn't really matter. It just can't be A, because if it's A, then we're saying, okay, -3, take away a -3, and then that's going to be 0, and then 1, take away a 1, and that's going to be 0, and it's just not going to work out over here. Okay, so any other point. Now, using the slope formula, we could put it in this form, right? We've got our yp minus ya, and we've got our xp minus the xa. Well, here's our x, and here's our y, -3 on the top, 1 on the bottom. What we can do here is now cross multiply. So we put a 1 here and then we multiply this and we multiply that. So we're cross multiplying. We get y plus 3 over x minus 1 equals 2. So that means we have y plus 3 equals 2x minus 1. Well, we can multiply this out here. So that would become y plus 3 equals 2x, okay, that times that, minus 2. Now, we can isolate the y by taking away 3 from both sides. So that would become, and I'll just write it down here, y equals 2x minus 5. We have our slope of 2, and in this form, we have a minus 5 y-intercept, which, yeah, that makes sense. It's right there. It's intercepting the y vertices right at -5. We can make a general rule as long as we have this point P that is any point on the line but not point A. Okay, some kind of point here. We'll call it XY, and we're just making a general rule here. So that would mean that this slope would equal y minus some kind of y1 and x minus x1. So that means we'll have mx minus x1 equals y minus y1. All right, so then we've got y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. This is our slope point form. All right. So the slope point equation of a line is this, where m is the slope of the line and x1, y1 represents any point on the line. And I want to emphasize that. That could be any point. If this number changes, this number is going to change and it'll still work out. So just trust that it could be any point. This one, we can't say that B is any point. B has to be that y-intercept. But over here, it could be any point. It could look a lot of different ways. So note that the slope point equation is used when we have the slope of a line and the coordinates of any point on the line. When using this method to determine the equation of a line, it is usually to give the final equation in general form, just like that, or in slope-intercept form, like that. It's usually a stepping stone, but it doesn't have to be. It depends what the teacher is asking. Now, what I want you to do is try class exercise number 1. Now, you have a point here, and you have a slope here, and I just want you to make it so that you got this in slope point form. Press pause now. Now, this one was super easy. I mean, it's just basically copying the numbers down. We take our y point here, and we put it here, and we subtract it from the y. We take our x point, and we subtract it from the x, and we put our slope right there. You can see the pattern is the same. The only difference you might notice is that when you have a negative, subtracting a negative becomes a positive. But other than that, it's just this, this, and this. All right? Now, the next thing to try is to take it so that when you have the slope and a point on the line, to be able to determine the equation in slope y-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. But you're using slope point form. Here we go. I'm going to show you A and then I want you to try B. So we've got y minus 2 equals 5x plus 5. And that's just taking my points and taking my slope and putting it in this configuration. Now we've got y minus 2 equals 5x plus 25. Then I need to add 2 to both sides. I'm just using my algebra. And now I'm left with y equals 5x plus 27. So y equals mx plus b form. Why don't you try letter B? Go for it. I hope you were able to find this. Once again, you're just taking your points, putting the 4 over here, subtracting it from the y, taking this negative 3, and because it's negative, it's going to be adding a 3. You've got it in this slope point form, and then you're just using algebra to switch it over into y equals mx plus b form. Here it is right here, y equals negative 7x minus 17. Now class exercise number 3, we got it a little bit more interesting. You've got two people, John and Nikki. They're solving the following quiz question. The quiz question is right here. Okay, they've started it off, but John can only remember the slope y-intercept form, but Nikki, she remembered the slope point form. I want you to complete their work, which is started below. Press pause now. So what John did is John wants to figure out this b. This b is going to be the y-intercept. All he got, though, was a point and a slope. But he can use those points. Hey, we've got an x, we've got a y. He put the y in, so he took that negative 5, he put it where the y was, he took the 3, put it where the x was. Now he got to this. If I continue it on, it's going to be negative 5 equals negative 6 plus b, and that's just multiplying these two together. Now that I've got this, I'm going to add 6 to both sides. That gives me 1 equals b. So now I've got my y-intercept of 1. So y equals negative 2x, which we got right up here, plus 1. Hey, Nikki, she can figure things out too. So she's got this far with those points. She's using the slope point form. So now we've got y plus 5 equals negative 2x plus 6. So y equals negative 2x plus 1. And all that was taking away 5 from here, taking away 5 from here. They got the same answer. You can do either way, no problem there. Okay, now we've got class exercise number 4. You've got this line on a grid, and it passes through at least 2 points with integer coordinates. Basically what they're saying is that a lot of places like this, hey, these aren't integer coordinates. They're not passing on any kind of proper line. So determine the equation of the line in general form. So what you need to do is you need to see where these points are. Well, I'm going to help you out with that. So how about this point? We've got a point here, and that's negative 6, 0. And then we've got a point here, which is negative 2 and negative 3. Okay, so negative 6, 0, negative 2, negative 3. Now you've got 2 points. What I want you to do is to determine the equation of the line and give it to me in general form. Press pause now. Well, now I've got the equation started. The first thing I needed to do was find my slope, my m. So I took this, take away that, over this, take away that. I found that the slope is negative 3/4. Now I can put that where my m is. I can also take whichever point, either one. How about we'll take this one because it's got a 0 in it. It might be a little bit easier. Put my y in here. Put my x in here. It's negative, and I'm subtracting a negative, so that means it becomes a positive. So now I've gotten this, but I've got this 4 in as a denominator. So I'm going to multiply everything by 4. That'll give me 4y, because this 0 isn't going to change anything, equals, and I'll have the 3x minus 18. And the 18 is this 3 times the 6. Now, I've been asked to put it in general form. So now I've got this 3x, and I want 3x and the 4y to be at the same side. And this is a negative 3x. So why don't I just add 3x to both sides? Now I've got 3x plus 4y plus 18 equals 0, and that's my answer. All right, so now last question here. For what you see here, state the slope and write the coordinates of a point on the line. I'm going to do the first one here, and then I'm going to have you do the second one. So I see right here that the slope is 1/7, and a point on the line is, I'm going to say it's a 4 because I'm subtracting here, and then this has got to be a negative 11. So there's a 0.4, negative 11. Okay, please do the rest. Press pause. Here we have the answers to class exercise number 5. Once again, very simple. There's the slope. It's right there. Negative 5/3. Just write it here. We've got these two things. So that means that the x is 7 and the y is 9. Letter C over here. We've got y equals negative 3x minus 6. Our slope is negative 3. We don't have anything here for a y, so our y is going to be a 0, and our x is going to be the 6. And this one is reversed, except we've got this y equals mx plus b, so we just have to add 6 to both sides. Now we've got y plus 6 equals negative 3x. That gives us a slope of negative 3. We've got negative 6 being our y, and then we've got 0 being our x, because we don't have this x. We don't have it, it's x minus 0 basically, so we just put a 0 there, and that is the end of the lesson.